bright, eh? It's pretty quiet, eh? To our college principal, Mr. Fulliger, members of the college leadership team, staff, our special guests joining us today, and a special welcome to the parents and friends who might be joining us online, and importantly, young Nudgee men, who are finally back where they belong here on this incredible campus. To those of you online that I have not met yet, my name is Mr. Sean Tuvey, and it's my honour to serve as the Acting Dean of Students here at Nudgee College. I wanted to start with gratitude. Gratitude for how well the community has adapted to the changes and challenges created by this interruption. The boys across all year levels have engaged in their lessons, have been cooperative, and the feedback from the amazing teaching staff has been exceptionally positive. My congratulations for the way you have dealt with the learning at home phase. Although we have welcomed back to each other this week, there is a consciousness that there is more to do, and I know that many of the speakers will challenge us about that today. I'm also acutely aware that we may still have some of us in transit and also some isolating at home. You have our thoughts and prayers. Today we'll once again hear from Harry Wawadi, our college captain for 2022. Mr. Sepatos will welcome back to the college some of our most recent old boys as we applaud the excellence in their academic achievements from last year. Mr. Brearley will welcome back the boarding students to the college. We'll hear from Mr. Fulliger, and finally I'll work through a range of back to school items that need covering collectively. As a college, we always gather as a community, and it's my pleasure to hand over to our Dean of Identity, Mr. Mara, for prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Tuvey, and good morning, everyone. 2022 marks the 260th anniversary of the birth of Blessed Edmund Rice. As a school in the Edmund Rice tradition, every day of our lives together is influenced by his legacy, and every plan we make for a future and any vision we have for any one of you is determined by the gifts that he left us. So throughout 2022, we will be looking at the person of Edmund Rice, his life, his work, and the legacy that he has left us as a community. And particularly when we get to the Feast of the Blessed Edmund Rice in May, we will more fully celebrate that with the knowledge and the discussions that we'll have over the next few months in preparation for that. When Edmund was born 260 years ago in Ireland, it was a very different society than the one that it is now. National Irish were expected to work for the English and not to have their own houses or properties, or really to be able to determine their own futures. And so in that society, an education for Irish men and women was really not required and really not something for which provision was made. So in that circumstance, Edmund was quite unusual in that as a young man, he received a proper education. And that reflects very much his middle-class upbringing. He had a proper primary education and then had a proper commercial education for high school, or for what we would think of as high school. And so that gave him a gift of an education, but also gave him the insight that education is what brings options, what brings freedom, it is what can bring us closer to God. So today in our prayer, which Gus will lead, we look very much at that gift of education that was given to Edmund and is given to us.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Blessed Edmund, in whose steps we follow, we entrust our lives to you. Shelter us from ignorance, selfishness, and oppression. Teach us to live in peace, to educate ourselves for justice and peace. Inspire us to act justly, to revere all God has made. Plant peace firmly in our hearts and in our world. Amen. Live Jesus in our hearts. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
After the recent volcanic eruption and tsunami in Tonga, the Nudgee community is reaching out to the people in affected communities. When the lunchtime barbecue starts again in week 4, the barbecue committee has decided the proceeds of the first 2 barbecues will go to Caritas Australia's Appeal for Tonga. The proceeds raised will supply the damaged communities with the needed resources to aid with recovery. Please make sure you stop by the Ross Over Rotunda and buy a sausage, drink, or a meal deal to support the people of Tonga.
Good morning, Mr. Fulliger, CLT, staff, parents, and men of Nudgee watching online and in classrooms. I would like to start off by welcoming all students and staff back from online learning. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that it feels great to be back on campus and having the ability to move more than from just your bedroom to the pantry and back. While sitting in front of a screen for the past week was not ideal for many, learning at home provided us with the chance and the opportunity to be grateful for the tangible experience of being in a classroom as well as being surrounded by 10,000 brothers. I'm hopeful that for many of you, online learning allowed you to start the year strong in regards to staying organised, setting goals, and allowing your brain to relearn the routine of having to do homework. 2021 College Docs Cane Day exemplifies Mrs. Sepetos's well-known saying of flying into space and going into orbit. Kane's success portrays to us all the importance of maintaining a structured work ethic and staying determined. As Kane will later highlight, it is essential as we transition into having to maintain academia as well as other activities that we switch on and fly into orbit. As all the teachers around you will say, the students that do the best are not those who are the smartest, but rather the most organised. Term 1 is also the time of the year where us Nudgee men can showcase our Nudgee spirit. Head of river, GPS swimming, debating, volleyball and cricket are examples of activities where we can reignite the Nudgee spirit that was disrupted during the most recent COVID wave. Something that will become very clear to you men of Nudgee that haven't experienced the wonders of Nudgee spirit is that school life at Nudgee does not finish at 3 p.m. on a Friday. In fact, it ramps up on Friday afternoon and peaks on Saturday, where the spirit within us is set free, unleashed, and vocalised. What makes this place so unique is that Nudgee succeeds in being a school that doesn't purely educate us boys, but rather it becomes a part of our lives. During the last 2 years, the Nudgee community utilised the limitations imposed by COVID in order to create opportunity. In 2022, we must keep this mindset so that we, as an entire Nudgee community, can continue to flourish. To reiterate what Mrs. Kafagi said last week on Assembly, try the new in 22. Not only is this statement catchy, but it highlights one of the core values at Nudgee of being the best version of yourself by overcoming challenges and taking advantage of opportunities presented. As Mr. Fulliger said to the Year 12 parents last week, achievers will be those who adapt to life's new constraints and opportunities. So ask yourself this: how will you become a sign of faith and Nudgee man? What path do you want to pave to define your journey at Nudgee? So with your end game in mind, your journey to success throughout 22 starts here, today. Term 1 is vital because it is where we take the first small steps that will eventually define our journey this year. And for those of you in younger grades, your journey into next year too. So if I'm going to leave you Nudgee men with one message today, make your first steps count. And to do this, ask yourself, what can I do this week to bring me one step closer to my goal for 2022? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harry. I think last week's learning at home, although difficult, did help us get into orbit. And I'll pick up a little bit today on what Mr. Mara spoke about the opportunity that Edmund Rice gave us and perhaps deepening some of that connection. So good morning to Mr. Fulliger, to colleagues, parents and friends, boys out there online, particularly our new boys, and especially to our College Ducks, Kane Day, our top ATAR achievers and our Apprentice of the Year, Harry Coventry, who we'll see in a moment. Unfortunately, today is a truncated assembly due to COVID. Usually would have more Year 12s from last year receiving subject prizes from across all subjects, and it's very disappointing they can't be with us. Also, boys, we've had to reschedule our gold, silver and bronze academic awards, and once again, that is something that is not our wish, but something that we need to do, but we certainly value all of your achievements. But at this time every year, I take the moment to speak with you, men of Nudgee and our newest old boys, and I try and set some sort of a tone, and Mr. Mara and Harry have done that for me already to a certain degree, so let's deepen that connection. When you see these high achievers today, from your various online locations, whatever room you might be in, don't sit there and daydream. Don't flick the elastic on your mate's face mask. Okay, this is an important moment in the college's history. You're a part of it today, even remotely. And you might be up here in the next few years. So sit up and think about your own journey today, as Harry mentioned, and what your legacy will be. So let me set the scene for you with an excerpt from the 1896, that's right, 1896 College Annual, which recounted the Academic Leavers Assembly. What were the Nudgee boys in that assembly audience thinking about that day? What sense did the prize winners have about the significance of the day, just like today? Did they think about how future Nudgee College boys would remember them? So these are the words of Justice Bell. He was a judge, an important person in Brisbane at the time. And this is what he said to this very assembly in 1896. He congratulated the brothers on their work and their pupils on what they had achieved in the various branches of learning. But more than all the advantages that they would derive from secular learning, their greatest gain from their sojourn under the Christian brothers' care would be that they had models of Christian conduct in the Christian brothers themselves. Men who had given up their all in this world simply to serve their pupils. Men who had exhibited to them in their lives the spirit of charity, the spirit of humility, the spirit of obedience, and above all, the spirit of sacrifice. So what does that say about our approach to learning today, perhaps next week, next term, or even next year? But also, what does it say about our legacy of our learning? What are we going to do with our golden ticket, boys? Where will it take you? How will it help others? How can it bring justice? How can it make the world a kinder place, a hope-filled place, a better place, a safer place, a sustainable and inclusive place? These are the deeper meanings of your learning here at Nudgee. One way you can frame that is by looking at our touchstones. Those messages presented 125 years ago, the legacy, the action plan left for you by the Christian brothers, exists in those touchstones. You need to use them alongside your learning. So these are the questions our award winners today must wrestle with, because with their achievement comes opportunity, and with that opportunity comes some responsibility. What will they make of theirs? And what will you make, boys, of your few short years to come? And more importantly, what would the class of 2096 make of you when they read the annual about the Leavers Assembly? So when you think about the task at hand, don't just think about what's in it for the short term, boys. Think bigger about where it's leading you. Think keenly about how completing your education here at Nudgee is more than just the marks. Find that eternal spirit in your learning. So to our youngest old boys today, and to current Nudgee men, I challenge you to consider where the spirit of charity, humility, obedience and sacrifice will emerge. It may not appear in Year 9, at the end of Year 12, or even in your 20s or 30s, but one day the true importance of a Nudgee education will appear, once the fanfare of marks, prizes and achievement have faded, just like the pages on the annual from this year will have in 100 years' time. Because in the end, boys, the wonderful opportunities Nudgee College provides us and the recognition that you should rightly feel for your achievements today is nothing if something more permanent about your character and being Signum Fidei does not stay with you and with us. So I commend these young men who are about to be presented to the college. I'm very proud of their achievements, just as I'm proud of every boy at the college and their learning, and I'm sure in years to come I will smile with contentment as they achieve great things for Nudgee, their community and more widely. I now welcome Studies Prefect Harry Blackmore to the microphone and invite College Principal Mr Peter Fulliger to present the awards.
Here at Nudgee College, we are proud of our identity as a school that supports and celebrates diversity and alternative educational pathways, both here and at school and our journey beyond the gates. In 2021, our Year 12 cohort received over 100 qualifications across the entire skills and training facility, from aviation to agriculture. These young men choose to study courses that will give them exciting starts to their careers before they even leave Nudgee. Just over 1/3 of last year's cohort had chosen to move into pathways that do not follow tertiary studies. These may include apprenticeships, traineeships in employment pathways including construction, engineering, agriculture and electrotechnology, to name a few, as well as many of our young men heading straight into the workforce in diverse careers such as farmhands, transport, logistics, and other exciting careers. One such young man is Harry Coventry. Harry was a boarder at Nudgee, and Harry's academic journey had focused on pathways towards a career in a trade. He studies subjects including construction, engineering, industrial technologies, English and maths. Harry has decided to complete an apprenticeship in plumbing, which has given him a fantastic opportunity for his future journey. Harry's performance in the skills and trade area and his exceptional to his studies, as well as his Learning Habits Award, has seen him be awarded with 2021's Nudgee College Apprentice of the Year. Harry Coventry's favourite subjects were engineering. His employer is pipe, plumbing and gas. His career expectations was to always go into a trade, as he enjoyed it when he started. Personal interests include surfing, boating, rowing and fishing. Most important lesson Nudgee taught him was being conscientious. Why did he choose the career? Because plumbing will help him back on the farm. Please congratulate Harry Coventry. I'd now like to invite my fellow Studies Prefect, Lachlan Barrett, to the microphone.
Good morning, parents, staff, our top achievers of 2021, and my fellow Nudgee students. Today, I'd like to take some time on behalf of the 2022 Studies Prefects to share with you all a little bit about us. As a group, we are committed to improving the learning experience at Nudgee, with our sole aim for the year being to help support the Nudgee cohort in all of our aspirations as we each undertake a new or continuing academic journey. Already, we've begun work on a few initiatives which we are eager to get underway. This will begin with a new committee commencing on Thursday, which will act as the student voice for what we would like to see from our studies in 2022. Through these programs, we hope to offer additional opportunities for us to engage with our learning at Nudgee and to ensure we're spending our golden ticket wisely in achieving all that we strive for. You'll be sure to hear more on this as the term progresses. However, that's all I can say for the moment, and so now it is our pleasure to introduce our top ATAR achievers of 2021 as we turn our attention to celebrating their achievements. Mr. Fulliger will present recipients with an academic medal to recognise their excellent results, which inspire us all to be mindful learners and to use our golden ticket. 55,000 students complete the Queensland Certificate of Education in 2021. Of those, 27,000 qualified for an Australian Tertiary Admission Rank, or ATAR. The boys presented today are in the top 5% of the 27,000. As we present each ATAR High Achiever, you'll see on your screen a short biography about important influences at Nudgee, favourite subjects and teachers, hopes and aspirations for their lives and careers, and in some cases, advice for you to be the best you can be. First, we'd like to congratulate Kieran McCarthy, who received an ATAR score of 98.35. His favourite subject was English Literature with Miss Bonnie Becker, and he hopes to do a Bachelor of Advanced Business at the University of Queensland. He aspires to one day become an entrepreneur, and his personal interest is to travel to Europe during the course of his studies. The most important lesson Nudgee taught him was to maintain a balanced lifestyle and to cherish the time he has at the college. Although schoolwork may have come first in his senior year, he's learnt that spending time with his mates or playing a sport is just as crucial as studying. Next, we have Ian Pantaleon, who received an ATAR score of 98.55. His favourite subject was Japanese, and he hopes to do a Bachelor of Nursing or a Bachelor of Midwifery at UQ. He aspires to work somewhere in the health field and is interested in one day travelling to Japan or Korea. The most important lesson Nudgee taught him was to make the most out of each lesson. Ian also received the subject Dux of Japanese. Next, we have Atticus Johnston, who is unable to attend today's assembly. He received an ATAR score of 99.05. His favourite subject was physics with Mr. Sen, and he hopes to do a Bachelor of Computer Science or a Bachelor of Science at UQ. The most important lesson Nudgee taught him was to take advantage of all opportunities presented, and Atticus also received the subject Dux of Digital Solutions. Next, we have Joshua Ferns, who received an ATAR score of 99.10. His favourite subject was physics, and although he believes that choosing a favourite teacher would be unfair, he gives shout-outs to Miss Becker, Miss Nardi, and Mr. Sen. He hopes to do a Bachelor of Advanced Finances and Economics at UQ, and although he's not really sure where he would like to work in the future, he's going to keep trying new things to end up where he's most happy. He's interested in travelling the world and is going to keep training hard in his sport to hopefully get into a national high-performance program. The most important lesson that Nudgee taught him was about loyalty, as the most important relationships he built through his Nudgee journey were based on loyalty, and these helped him to get through tough times in his final year of school. Joshua also received the subject Dux of Study of Religion. Next, we have Jesse Dando, who received an ATAR score of 99.10. He appreciated all of his teachers, and he hopes to do a Bachelor of Engineering and Masters of Engineering at UQ. He aspires to one day become a chemical engineer, and the most important lesson Nudgee taught him was to work hard to achieve his goals. Jesse also received the subject Dux of Engineering Cert 2. Next, we have Leo Fairley, who is unable to attend today, but in his place, his brother Sam Fairley will accept. He received an ATAR score of 99.30. His favourite subject was philosophy. He hopes to do a dual degree in politics, philosophy, and economics and science at ANU, and he's not quite sure what he aspires to do for his career. His personal interest was to be able to wake up and to go for a surf or a snowboard every day, and the most important lesson that Nudgee taught him was to take that leap of faith and try something new, because that's where all the good stuff is. He also received the subject Dux of Philosophy and Reason. I'd now like to introduce my fellow studies prefect, Elliot Brown.
It is my pleasure to continue our ATAR High Achievers presentation. Up next is Simon Vollett, who received an ATAR of 99.50. His favourite subject was Maths Specialist with Mr. Sugars. His university placement is at QUT for a Bachelor of Engineering and a Bachelor of Mathematics. Simon hopes to eventually work in the field of robotics to test and develop everyday useful robots. Simon also wants to see the world, to experience its various cultures and lifestyles. The most important lesson that Nudgee taught him was to give everything a go because you never know what you might like. Next is Nikhil Lawani, who received an ATAR score of 99.65. His favourite subject was chemistry with Miss Corley, and at university he hopes to go on a Bachelor of Economics and Law at UQ. Nikhil hopes to be a lawyer so he can fill his dream of making as much change in the world as he can. The most important lesson that Nudgee taught him was to always keep yourself open to new opportunities. He ducks chemistry, legal studies and literature. Rowan Asbury received an ATAR score of 99.75. His favourite subject was also Maths Specialist with Mr. Sugars. University, he hopes to go into a Bachelor of Engineering or a Bachelor of Maths at UQ, where he hopes to graduate as a medical engineer and to eventually open up his own engineering firm. He would also like to travel to England and play football there for a couple of years. The most important lesson that Nudgee taught him was that you can't cut corners, and that the only way to achieve your goals is to put in the work. He ducks mathematical methods. We congratulate our ATAR High Achievers for 2021. I would now like to present Mr. Fulliger, our 2021 Proxime Accessit Lachlan McGarry. For those who don't know, Proxime Accessit means second place in Latin. Not only was Lachlan second place at Nudgee, but he also placed in the top 100 students amongst the 27,000 candidates in Queensland. Lachlan received an ATAR score of 99.85, and his favourite teacher was Miss Corley. Lachlan hopes to go into a Bachelor of Medical Science at Griffith University, where he hopes to finish his degree and move on to his doctorate while finding some time in there for travel. The most important lesson that Nudgee taught him was to challenge yourself and to make the most out of every opportunity. Lachlan also ducks chemistry. Can we please congratulate Lachlan? We now come to the presentation of our college ducks for 2021. Kane Day. Kane achieved the highest possible ATAR in Queensland, alongside only 31 other students. This truly is a remarkable demonstration of persistence, determination and ability. Kane's favourite subject was Math Methods with Miss Nardi, and at university he is getting a Bachelor of Advanced Finance and Economics at the University of Queensland to go into fund management and stock analysis. Kane also wants to travel to London after university to live for a few years to try and kickstart his career and indulge in other culture. The most important lesson that Nudgee taught him was scheduling and organisation. Kane ducks chemistry, physics and specialist mathematics. Can we please congratulate Kane? I now invite Kane to step forward and share a few thoughts with us.
Good morning, Mr. Fulliger, parents, staff, and most importantly, my fellow Nudgee brothers. I wanted to start off by saying a massive thank you and congratulations to my teachers, Miss Nardi, Mr. Sugars, Mr. Sen, Miss Corley, Mr. Tracy, and of course, Mr. Crop in Ross 1. For this award is just as much yours as it is mine. Without your help, I most certainly wouldn't be standing here today. A few years ago, if you had told me that I would be delivering this speech, I would have looked at you as if you were a fool. To tell the truth, I was never the most gifted or naturally smart student. Despite starting my Nudgee journey in Year 6, I was unable to receive any sort of academic award until Year 10. Standing up here today has proven to me that you don't need to be a freak of nature to achieve seemingly impossible feat. Sorry. I don't mean to turn this into one of Mr. Fulliger's golden ticket speeches, but I truly believe that at this terrific school, anything is as possible as long as you are willing to apply yourself. Something I only now realise is the opportunity of a lifetime. In order to do this, I prepared a few tips and tricks that I used in my senior year, which will hopefully assist you in gaining advantage in the ATAR system. To begin, I know this is said all the time management is your best friend. During my senior year, I was able to work 8 to 12 hours a week while balancing rugby, volleyball, gym, social life, while also completing at least 3 hours of study every afternoon, all because of this wonderful tool. My personal preference is not to overcomplicate it. You don't have to know exactly what you were studying 2 weeks prior. Go buy yourself a journal or scheduling book and plan your afternoons when you get home. Break it up into 30 minutes to hour-long blocks where you dedicate each block to one subject. Stick to that schedule no matter what you get done in one session. You want to dedicate equal amounts of time to all your subjects. Next, consistency is key. Your brain is like a muscle. The more often you go to gym, in this case, go and study, the more that muscle will grow. This is exactly the case for academia. Set yourself a daily study goal. I recommend at least 2 hours a day. Personally, I did 3 hours a day, but from what I've heard, this is a bit ridiculous. Meet this goal every afternoon and your academic prowess will improve, I promise. Also, don't limit yourself to this. If you have spare time, try and exceed this daily target, but be cautious of how much you study, as too much can take a toll mentally. Last but not least, exercise and activity are key. Being a factor that is less spoken about, I've always loved to preach about getting adequate exercise. If you are anything like me in my senior year, you will need at least 1 to 2 hours of rugged exercise 3 days a week to give you a period of time where you can escape from your academia. For me, this was volleyball or rugby training and gym in the afternoon. Trust me, consistent exercise will allow you to study more and gain an advantage over your peers. Finally, a message to the senior class of 2022. Boys, don't think you've left it too late to achieve your goals. Maybe you've dropped a few marks in IO1 or simply don't think you have it in you to achieve the things you want. If so, spend a bit of time thinking of what exactly it is you want to achieve. Write it down and put it somewhere you'll see often. For me, this was the front cover of my scheduling book. As soon as you do that, I want you to chase it. Do everything in your power to attain what you truly desire. I won't borrow it up for you. It won't be easy. Throughout the year, you will experience doubt, failure, and some intense nerves that may affect your results. However, this is exactly what I did as a student who never even came close to proxing or duxing the grade before my senior year. Yet now, I stand before you as the dux of the college, just after receiving a Vice-Chancellor scholarship to pursue a career in finance and economics at UQ. It's your last year as a Nudgee man. You really have nothing to lose. Commit yourself completely to whatever it is you desire. Do everything in your power to obtain it, and trust me, you'll be surprised with what you are capable of. Thank you.
Thank you, Kane. Very wise words from a young man and far more powerful than anything I could say. Thank you for giving up your time and those thoughts. One thing Kane can't do is carry 10 things at once. There's a lot of other things that we couldn't award him when he picked up the cup. So receiving his medals for chemistry, physics and specialist maths subject ducks. He's still trying to juggle them by the looks of it. And also his certificate recognising his fantastic achievement. And of course, recognising all the achievements of those newest old boys that came back today. Thank you very much once again.
Good morning, Mr. Fulliger, fellow members of the CLT, staff, Nudgee families, and most importantly, Nudgee men. I must start by echoing the sentiments that have been taken up by our previous speakers. It is so great to be back. From 2022 onwards, I am blessed to be the leader of the Nudgee boarding community. And I must say this has been a strange role for the first 2 weeks, given that we've had no boarders on campus. However, this Sunday, we welcome back 304 boarders to their home away from home. Boys returned from faraway places, including the Torres Strait, Papua New Guinea and Dubai. Boys returned from Kununurra in Western Australia, Warrialda in northern New South Wales and Mount Isa in northwest Queensland. Patrick Gallimore even survived a long trip in from Clayfield. Of those 304 boarders, 77 boys spent their first night in Nudgee boarding on Sunday. These are the boys I'm here to publicly acknowledge. Gentlemen, new boarders, well done. You have endured what is certainly one of the most challenging moments of your life to date. Not only have you endured it though, you have done so with smiles on your faces and resilience at your core. Our school vice captain, Darcy Turner, put it brilliantly on Sunday when speaking to our new families. The challenges of boarding can either be overcome or overthought, and I'm proud to say that you have overcome your first significant challenge. Well done to our new boarders.
Thank you, Mr. Brearley. And I echo a number of speakers who've mentioned how good it is to have boys back here present today. Great to be able to join together here online as we are. It'll be even better in a few weeks. It was terrific. Mr. Sepp likewise, and Kane. So those three speeches today have been absolutely outstanding, and I thank each one of them for the thought that went in it and the messages that you have generated. Special welcome again to the seniors, these boys who represent the senior class of 2021. And collectively, they did a great job as seniors, leading us through the year in all aspects of school, but an outstanding achievement at the end of the year. As mentioned in our presentations, 110 of those boys getting a skills and training or a vet qualification during the course of the year. Overall, in terms of the ATAR results, our second best ever results, only pipped by the senior class of 2017. And we've seen the very best of those boys today. So I congratulate you and all your peers, boys. We're so proud of what 21 seniors achieved across the school. Can I say thank you to the boys for the way you engaged with learning at home last week. Your cooperation, your willingness to adapt to what was really planned for you was terrific. So from almost every staff member that I've spoken to, it's only been positive words about how you engaged last week. So good job on that. It's a really good start. Can I thank again the staff, the teaching staff particularly, for all the work that went in changing their plans and what they had to do to work to make sure things almost looked a little easy last week, perhaps when you were sitting there at home and working. What you don't see is all the work from our teachers in preparation for what went on, trying to be creative and innovative to engage you in those lessons. Far better to be back face-to-face this week, we all know that, but again, last week was a good start, a good preparation for the start, if I could call it that. So it means we've got a positive start to 2022, and it will be a terrific year, I'm sure. There's going to be some challenge, Mr. Tuvey may pick that up. We've tried to convey that to parents, we'll convey that to you boys through various messages. Over the coming weeks, boys will fall ill if they're not already ill already. Staff will fall ill. COVID is amongst us. Right, so we have to manage those illnesses, we have to manage being close contacts, we have to manage the disruption that it will cause. So let's work together around that by communicating as best we can between families and the school to manage that situation. The most important thing though, boys, what you can do for each other here at school is manage your own hygiene, follow good practices best you can. It gets tricky, masks on, masks off, congratulating people, shaking hands, doing all those things that we do. But if we also try to be mindful of looking after ourselves and what we do, but also others, then we'll get through these coming few weeks. Boys, in my mind, I think there's the two greatest honours, if I could call it that, at this school. One is to be college captain, and we all should aspire to that. It's a great honour in any year level to be the college captain. But I think the equal, if in some regards, I guess, others can judge that, is to be the college duck. So to Kane, it's a wonderful thing for you to have achieved that, and your story that you shared, some of that today, was terrific. I thought the speech that Kane made some really practical suggestions that I think every boy across the school could put in place. Things like time management, being consistent in your study, being active and physical, and the things that Kane needed to do to keep his spirit alive, I suppose, under the weight of all that study that he did. I'll probably extend the exercise thing to those who mightn't be exercise conscious, but it's being in touch with the things that bring you joy, boys. It might be playing a musical instrument. It might be being out in the fresh air or with an animal that you've got at home. Anything that brings you joy away from the grind of study is to be commended. And thank you, Kane, for what you shared. But I think he also modelled something It's what he did over these last years. He told you, boys, he came here in year 6. He didn't get an academic prize till year 10. So that's 5 years of striving. I'm sure he wasn't sitting down in the back of the classroom wasting his time. No, that wouldn't have been the case. But he didn't get the prize, others did. He wasn't deterred, so there's a resilience and determination in what I hear, what I read into that story. He was never the best student in the class. He said that. He was never the Dux or second Dux, the Proxime Accessit. But ultimately he achieved that goal of Dux. So model something for what you can do here at school in various aspects of your life. And also commend having Harry here, Harry Coventry, because he too models something for all boys at the school about what you can do. And I loved his story about what he did while he was here at school, combining his skills and gifts as well as his abilities to do and find a pathway beyond the school. So sometimes when we use the word academic, we can only think it's around English and maths and science. Well, if we use it in a broader sense of learning, when we talk about academics, we're talking about the broader sense of learning. And here at Nudgee, we work on that. So terrific to have Harry here representing those boys who we value so much at school. So there's 270 new boys sitting out there today who are listening to their first assembly, I guess first official assembly. They're probably wondering what they're trying to process, what they're trying to hear, what you're trying to understand, because every day taking in the practicalities of getting to and from class and around the school, you will hear, and you've heard some of those key messages about the culture of Nudgee. They've been conveyed to you already by almost every speaker who has spoken today. You've observed it in subtle ways, even if you don't know what it is or quite why they do it. The prayer at the end of the day yesterday, our prayer at the start of Assembly Day, some of the language that's been used on Assembly today talks about our values. It talks about messages, things that we find important, the message that sits with that value, right? The images that we share with you. There's lots of things you mentioned. Interestingly, the old golden ticket been mentioned 2 or 3 times today. So, Kane, thanks for dusting that one off. I will talk about the golden ticket at some stage in the future, boys. Stay tuned. There's another message about every lesson counts. You'll hear that one rolled out as well. You'll hear school talk about learning and teaching and class being the main game. We've talked today, Harry spoke so beautifully about Nudgee spirit. We'll talk about things about 10,000 brothers. You saw an image of the touchstones and inclusive community and what that means at the school. You'll see often when I'm speaking, you'll see the school star and some words that are associated with that star of values, things that we feel are important, things like courage. And Mr. Brearley talked a little bit about that courage needed by boarders who are spending the first day or two a long way from home. You need a big dose of courage to do that, boys. Hope you're tapping into that. Excellence is something that we aspire to as well. Doesn't mean you have to, there's only one Cane day, but these 11 other boys who are with us, that's about excellence, boys. It's about being the best that we can be. And to be the best we can be, you always need ambition. So we mightn't use that word always, but we are saying to you, it's part of the culture here at Nudgee to be ambitious. We do that to try to be our best, and we do that also with balance with being humble about being that. But we do strive, we do push ourselves into areas where we're perhaps challenged to be better. That's part of the learning journey, whatever that is, from Year 5 boys who arrived here yesterday through to Year 12s who are in their last year. So to model that, I guess, in some ways, or to exemplify might be a better word. I'll share a video with you. I haven't used it for a couple of years. Older boys might remember seeing this video from a couple of years ago. It was done for the centenary of the GPS, and there's a famous Nudgee old boy, Mark Lone, Dr. Mark Lone, speaks about ambition at this school. So who's Mark Lone now? Well, he's a fairly old guy. He was a senior here in the 70s. He came to us as a boarder from North Queensland, from Serena. He played his first rugby game here in the 15Bs. He'd never worn football boots before he played down on the flats like many of you have. He played his first game there. He went on to be a Wallaby captain in rugby. He went on to follow his academic dream and to become a doctor. He became a specialist. He's an ophthalmologist, someone who works with people's eyes. But the Nudgee part of it, and Mr. Sepp talked about this as well, the Nudgee part of it, and it's the in a way, the Catholic Christian part, doing something with your abilities for others. So what does Mark Lyon do? You won't hear him tell too many people about it. He goes out and does work with Indigenous communities in North Queensland, has done that for years. Pro bono work, free work that he does to help those people in need. So wonderful Mark Lyon talks about ambition, and hopefully technology will work, so it'll be played for all of us right now. Take it away, Ral.
It's a nice thing to have the input of 9 schools thinking very, very, very hard about how it is that you should educate young men to play their part in society. And I think if you look back, they've done pretty well. I found it entrancing that you had this great diversity and a sense of belonging to a diverse structure. I'm very, very proud to have been a small part of that. Biggest things was that you're allowed to be ambitious. What I learned here was that ambition was acceptable. And I think that's really something that's right behind the GPS spirit, is that it encourages those things, diversity and cohesiveness, but also ambition. Both ambition on the fields of sport, but an ambition in life.
In Mark's words, ambition was acceptable, and it certainly is here, boys. So in conclusion, let's start 2022 with ambition. Set your goals. If you haven't already, boys, what is your goal this very day? What's your goal for this term? What do you want to achieve during this year in the classroom, but in all those broad areas of Nudgee life? What do you want to do? How will you be better than you were last year? What do you want to fulfill where you're here? All those things are part of the story and the rich narrative of what 2022 will bring for you and for all of us collectively. So, boys, I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited that you're back. I'm excited about the days ahead. Let's make it a great start today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fulliger. It's been such a wonderful assembly so far this morning with some outstanding messages by all the speakers, but particularly to Kane, who I really have thoroughly enjoyed watching grow and mature over the years. So Kane, a huge congratulations from me as well. Gentlemen, there are a few start of year matters that, whilst a little bit dry in nature, are necessary for the start of the year to walk through with you today. The first of which is the Nudgee College app. This has been designed to streamline communication from each area of school life. Gentlemen, when you download the app, please make sure you subscribe to the student tag in your settings and choose the specific year level and house associated with you so that you're not flooded with too much additional information. Mr. Fulliger's already spoken about this in small detail. However, a great deal of correspondence has gone out with regards to our COVID management situation right now. Okay, so a couple of details that will pop up on the screen there, which won't be out of character or out of the ordinary. But gentlemen, not coming to school if you're unwell, that includes sport training and music practice. And I know how difficult that might be, having someone personally who struggles by actually downing the tools and having a rest when you are unwell. But it's important for the wider community that you still adhere to those principles. Gentlemen, where possible, practice good hygiene, adhering to those societal norms of not spitting on the ground, sharing water bottles, and at present, where we can, avoiding shaking hands. But gentlemen, the one aspect that we can have a great deal of control of is our mask wearing. And as frustrating as it might well be, there is a government mandate out about that at the moment. For our grade 5 and 6 boys, obviously this is desirable and strongly encouraged, but for our grade 7 to 12 boys in the high school, this is mandatory, okay, and an absolute key requirement to try and minimise the harm for everyone here at school. Gentlemen, that includes times when we're walking around when we can't socially distance, includes on our bus runs, walking around campus, and even sitting around lunchtime if you are comfortable in that landscape. I mentioned yesterday morning on the loudspeaker that this has always been about that mutual respect, okay, respecting that we want to keep each other safe that whole time. Gentlemen, please be accountable for your mask. Whilst we will endeavour to keep supporting you, there's been a significant number of boys that simply forget to bring them each day. Now, I don't know whether this is forgetfulness or whether it's just a laid-back nature or perhaps laziness, but can we please be accountable for that as we would every other part of our uniform at the moment? Gentlemen, just a message about away games this weekend at Churchy for not only players but potentially spectators as well. Gentlemen, all those indoor sports, i.e. volleyball and debating, gentlemen, there is a possibility that you might not be admitted to that venue if you don't have a mask on you. So please, let's get in that habit of always having a mask in our pocket for ourselves when we are travelling and here at school. Gentlemen, we talked about culture. Mr. Fulliger talked about culture earlier as well, and that comes in so many different facets of school life. But ultimately, these small matters, seemingly small matters on the screen now, are important in laying the foundations of that culture. And collectively, if we aim to get the little things right day in and day out, this will hold us in good stead for an outstanding 2022. I'll talk about some of these in more detail in future weeks. However, let's aim to control what we can control over the coming days, weeks and months. Gentlemen, today I want to focus on the mobile phone policy. And this might be a challenge for a significant number of us, having had the best part of the last 2 months with continual access. But it's a necessary evil to ensure that we are fully immersed in college life. For our grade 5 to 10 men, mobile phones are not to be seen or visible during the school day. It's as simple as that. Laptops are the device for class, and mobiles are not to be used as a device for any classes. Students may keep them in their lockers, in their bags, satchels, or in their pocket, but they should not be out at any time. The only exceptions that might be at the tuck shop if you're using Apple Pay to pay for your goods. Gentlemen, if you go to the bathroom during class time, it is very likely that your teacher will request that you keep your mobile phone on the desk or perhaps even hand it in to that teacher. For our Year 11 and 12 students, during break times, it is permissible to still have access to your phone, but only for checking emails and momentary glimpses, not for continual scrolling that whole time. So gentlemen in grade 11 and 12, let's make sure we lead by example and not have our phones highly visible either during the school day. Gentlemen who may need exemptions for medical reasons, of which we know there are a few, please come and see us in the student office to register that. Gentlemen, in the early phases, you may be given a warning or a friendly reminder. However, teaching staff are well within their rights to confiscate that phone if they find you're not adhering to the rules. They will connect it with the student office where you can collect it at the end of the school day. Something that will impact all of us is the full implementation of the new bus minder system, which has been spoken about for well over 12 months now, but now certainly well and truly in mode. Gone are the days of the traditional weekly or term bus pass, okay, and now everything is connected to your student ID card. Gentlemen will be required to tap on and tap off on each occasion unless you are being dropped off at school in the morning, haven't already been picked up for that run. The wonderful thing about this software is that it can alert parents to when boys are on and off their bus and provide that extra layer of safety for our younger students. This applies to all bus travel, not just in the mornings and afternoons. So every time you travel on one of the college bus runs, you will need your student ID card. That includes excursions, weekend sports, and even our boarding recreational activities. If you don't have your ID card, gentlemen, please, you will still be permitted entry, but please line up at the rear of the queue so we're not obstructing the other boys on loading onto the bus quickly. Please assist the drivers in this process, and thank you to Mr. Todd Denning and the transport team for their initiative here over the recent times. Gentlemen, looking ahead to the week, this Friday during SF, students in years 7 to 10 were yesterday emailed a form with their start of semester interview. This is a really important part of our start of semester process, so we can sit down with our key PC tutors and start doing some of that detailed planning, talking about the time management, talking about setting those academic, personal and wellbeing goals to ensure that we are supporting you to the best of our ability. So that will happen this Friday for years 7 to 10. Our Year 11 ATAR students will have their first Elevate sessions this Friday morning, and the Work and Further Study boys will be doing a vet induction. Please keep an eye out for emails from Ms Webber or Mr Byrne. Our Year 12 men, after PC that morning, you will gather down at the Christian Brother Conference Centre for an establishing assembly with a few of the senior staff. A final message, over the next couple of weeks, gentlemen, there won't be any house assemblies until we work through this next couple of weeks, and we'll give you further information via your house deans about that. Gentlemen, a final message for today. And I hope I'm not showing my age too much here, but I really don't care. Without fail, the movie Home Alone is an absolute must over the holiday period in the Tuvey household. It is an incredible tale of resilience in teaching you to deal with your emotions better. For those who haven't quite seen it before or perhaps too young to understand, here is a short clip. Harry and Marv are absolutely relentless in their chase of Kevin. Unfortunately though, their inability to deal with spiders, micro machines, and each other hinders the end game of robbing the house. They let their emotions and thoughts get the better of them. Perhaps if they planned their assault just as well as Kevin planned his defence, this movie could have had a completely different outcome. Gentlemen, each day we are challenged to deal with any number of setbacks. Some small, some big, some within our control, others out of our control. Gentlemen, you are in control of how you respond to any situation, whether that be the phase of learning at home we just got through, non-selection in a sporting team, a poor academic result that you weren't expecting, a relationship breakdown, and many others. We don't know what the next few weeks, months will bring for us, but by having a positive mindset and using the support mechanisms around you, we'll have a tremendous 2022. Gentlemen, I look forward to seeing many of you in the yard today and have a fantastic day. Thank you.